Hey there guys, Nordic Warrior here, back with another video. This will probably be a quick one. I don't really have a whole lot to say, but this has been on my mind today. So, yeah, as I'm sure most of you have heard, Tyson Fury is going to be fighting the UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. And it's going to be in one of those sort of gimmicky crossover fights. Ngannou's going to be crossing over to boxing. But I don't believe it's going to be an officially sanctioned fight. It's taking place in Saudi Arabia, and obviously there's going to be a lot of money on the line, but I believe the fight itself is going to be an exhibition, so I don't think that anybody's title or anybody's record, should I say, is actually going to be on the line. I think it's just an exhibition, so yeah, it's relatively inconsequential, the fight, in terms of its effect on both sports or the heavyweight division in boxing. So let's talk about it. So pretty much the reaction to this fight has been overwhelmingly negative. I haven't seen really anybody who's credible try to defend the fight or say anything positive about it. People seem to be pissed. They seem to be really, really outraged by it. You know, guys, over the years, it's no secret that I've developed a bit of a reputation for, let's just say, not being very nice to Tyson Fury. I've developed a reputation of being very disrespectful towards him. Now, me personally, I don't think I've ever told a lie about the man. I don't think I've ever said anything about him that wasn't true. I don't think I've ever said anything about him that I couldn't justify. But it's a reputation that I've gained over the years of being highly critical of Tyson Fury. So it would be very, very easy for me to come on here and, you know, feign outrage and start talking trash about this fight and saying Fury's a disgrace. I could easily do that, but if truth be told, the state of mind that I'm in right now, I do not care about boxing. I think boxing is a sport that is a complete and utter waste of time, if truth be told. It's something that I'm really done getting invested in. I haven't been invested in it in a very long time, as you guys know. And I've got a bit of a soft spot, believe it or not, for Tyson Fury. You know, Tyson Fury, to me, he's someone who I followed from the very beginning of his career, near enough. I remember him from the ITV4 days. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster, you know, following Tyson Fury's career. And he's always been like this, you know, from the very beginning of his career. You know, he's always been a guy who talks a lot of trash. You know, is very dismissive and quite disrespectful of boxing fans in general, and likes to kind of mess them around and you know, get their hopes up about certain fights only for these fights to fall through. Fury's always been like that, and this is really nothing new. You know, fights like this, fights where the opponent has no chance and it's essentially a cherry pick, but one that's going to be lucrative, is exactly the type of fight I would expect Tyson Fury to take at this stage of his career. And why shouldn't he? You know, the guy's already made more money than he's ever going to make, or more money than most fighters will ever make in their entire life. And there's no real incentive for him to take any risks. I mean, why should he take any risks? Why shouldn't he fleece boxing for all it's worth? You know, just milk the sport. I don't really see a problem with it at this stage, to be honest. But this fight in particular, when I first heard the fight was going to be announced, or when I first heard that it was in talks, believe it or not, I was actually quite intrigued by it. And the reason why I was intrigued by it, despite my criticisms of Tyson Fury and my overall thoughts on the heavyweight division, and my overall thoughts on crossover fights in general, usually being a waste of time, the reason why I was intrigued by this fight was because I was kind of holding out hope that maybe the fight would take place in MMA rather than boxing. You see, MMA fighters competing in boxing, and I spoke about this recently in the comment section of a few videos, when MMA fighters try to compete in boxing, it's a complete waste of time, because MMA fighters are essentially handicapping themselves by putting on gloves that they're not used to wearing, and by essentially fighting with a new set of rules that they haven't been used to. You know, MMA fighters are taught to obviously grapple and use their feet and stuff like that. You know, kicks, elbows, and all that sort of stuff. Groundwork, ground and pound. You know, all sorts of different martial arts working together, and of course, boxing is part of that. But if you take an MMA fighter, make him wear big gloves, and make him fight in boxing rules, you're essentially taking away what he knows and what he does best. And you're essentially handicapping that fighter. Whereas with boxers, it's very different. If you take a boxer and put him into an MMA fight, it's not really going to be that much different for the boxer in terms of what he's allowed to do. You know, you're essentially giving a boxer a situation where it's more relaxed for him. You know, the rules that he's usually having to adhere to are being relaxed. So for me, it would make a lot more sense for a boxer to compete in MMA than it would for an MMA fighter to compete in boxing. So when I heard of Tyson Fury maybe fighting Francis Ngannou, I was very intrigued by that. The idea of Fury going into the octagon and fighting MMA rules against a world-class heavyweight MMA fighter. So it would have been very interesting to me, because Tyson Fury, say what you want about the man, he has certain natural abilities that you just can't teach. You know, he's obviously a massive guy. Like he's 6'9", I believe. At least that's what he's listed at. So he's considerably taller and considerably longer than Francis Ngannou. And Fury also has natural athletic abilities, like he's got quick feet for such a big man. He's very, very well coordinated for a big man. Even for a guy half his size, he would be more coordinated than most of them. You know, his timing's very good, his reflexes are world class, even at this stage of his career. So for me, Tyson Fury going into an MMA fight, he would be able to do a lot of things in MMA. You know, he's a guy who generally likes to fight dirty and likes to clinch, you know, likes to use his elbows and his forearms. So if you're able to put him in a situation where he's allowed to clinch an MMA fighter, I could see him being strong enough, fit enough, and durable enough to really get some good groundwork in and to really do something in there. Because Tyson Fury, like I said, say what you want about the man, the guy's a physical specimen. He is. He's very, very strong. He's very, very fit for his size. And in an MMA fight, it would be very interesting to see what he could do. And it would also be very interesting to see what he could do in terms of utilising his reach. Because obviously, you know, a lot of these heavyweight MMA guys are like big, muscular, roided up, stocky guys. You know, Anthony Joshua is kind of similar to someone like, you know, Francis Ngannou. You know, and Anthony Joshua, you know, he's got the big, muscular, strong physique, but he's a guy who isn't very naturally athletic and doesn't have much fluidity. I would compare Francis Ngannou to him. So, you know, Francis Ngannou, to me, obviously he's an MMA guy. You know, he's very good in his particular discipline, but he doesn't have the natural athletic ability that Fury has. So that's why the fight would really intrigue me. Like, if Fury were to fight in MMA against Ngannou, yeah, Ngannou's obviously the better MMA fighter. He's the guy who's disciplined in that sport. But Tyson Fury would have certain advantages. Like, he would have the reach advantage, and he is the better athlete, naturally, in my opinion. So it would be a lot less of a mismatch, and it would be a lot more of an interesting spectacle, is the point I'm trying to make, if the fight were to take place in the MMA octagon. But, you know, seeing it take place in boxing, to me, is a missed opportunity. Like, a boxing match between a big roided up, you know, stocky MMA guy who likes to clinch and take you to the ground, you know, it's just a complete waste of time. I can tell you, if this was a real fight and if it's not an exhibition, I could see Ngannou gassing out within a couple of rounds, because he's going to be too heavily muscular and he's going to be too tense and loading up on his punches, and Fury's just going to dance around him and box rings around him. And then when he starts to get tired, Fury would just start to lean on him and maul him inside, and he'd stop him. But with this being probably just an exhibition, I think what's going to happen is Fury's going to carry Ngannou, he's going to play with him, he's going to toy with him on the outside, and he's going to win pretty easily. And it'll probably go the distance. That's what I think will probably happen. So if you're asking me for a prediction, I'll say Fury just plays with him, toys with him, wins every single round and showboats and embarrasses him a bit. But maybe here and there lets him get a shot in and just wins the fight comfortably, but tries to make it a bit of a show for the fans. But to be perfectly honest, it's just disappointing to me. I'm not outraged by the fight. I'm not mad at it. I don't really give a crap about Undisputed at heavyweight. I could care less about Usyk, to be honest. I mean, Usyk versus Dubois is about as much of a mismatch as this is, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I don't really care about that fight either. So, yeah, I don't really care about seeing Usyk versus Fury for undisputed, and that fight would just be a letdown. You know, it'd be one of them fights that's hyped up as being such a big event like Mayweather Pacquiao, and it would turn out to be a dud probably if the fight ever happened. So, I don't really care about it. But as far as this fight goes, initially I was intrigued by it because I thought I was holding out hope that there was a chance it might be an MMA fight, or at least like I don't know, a bare knuckle fight or something, you know, something that would kind of blend the two sports together. But as it stands, there's really no point in this fight. It's really just a waste of time, and it's just Tyson Fury fleecing the fans, really, and why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he do that, as far as I'm concerned? So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. It's an exhibition and it's a mismatch. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching and God bless.